Hello, welcome to this session. In this session, we would be discussing the IAS Prelims paper for 2014. We would be taking paper 2. In this, you had 80 questions. We would be taking set B. Of those 80 questions, we would be discussing 20 questions in each session. So, we will be having 4 sessions across which we would be discussing all the questions. So, we'll be starting with paper 1, set B, the first question. The first question was basically based on this passage. So if you go through this passage, you can understand that this passage is about the Himalayan ecosystem and the problems caused in the Himalayan ecosystem due to climatic change. So as it is mentioned in the passage, the increased temperature, we'll just try to highlight some of the important points. Increased temperature, higher precipitation, drought and biotic influence are the main things that have been adversely affected in the Himalayan ecosystem. Now, this affects the life of the people living in the upland as well as in the low-lying areas. And what the government has said that there is an urgent need to give special attention to the Himalayan region. Okay, for this they have talked about the conservation of all the systems. So under conservation of all the systems, they have talked about first, that the endemics which have been which have restricted distributions. So what is important is the restricted distribution endemics are the most vulnerable section. Then they have talked about the loss of genetic resources and species and decrease in the ecosystem. So this is an important line, that this has led to loss of genetic resources which decreases the ecosystem services. Besides this, they have the main aim of this whole idea of whole passage is to talk about conservation plan. So they say that there is a need to shift from the species habitat focus to expand the biogeographic range so that the natural adjustment to the climatic changes can proceed without being restrictive, or that means the climatic change run more smoothly. So this is basically the essence of the whole of the passage if we read this. Now let's try to solve the questions based on the last line of the passage. Which of the following is best implied to understand the shift towards conservation approach? The answer is the Himalayan biogeographical region should be unable to adapt to climate change smoothly, as it is mentioned in the last line we discussed. What is the most important message that is conveyed in this passage? Again, if we try to understand this passage, the most important line here would be that we have to shift the focus from species habitat, okay, to biogeographical range. So that means conservation efforts should emphasize on biogeographical ranges rather than species habitat. So B is correct here. And the last question based on this paragraph, on this passage is, with reference to the passage, which of the following is correct? So we can say easily with reference to this passage, only the last of the statement is correct, that loss of endemic diversity leads to extinction of ecosystem, which is mentioned here in the passage. So this was the first set of questions based on this passage. There is another set of questions which is based on reading comprehension. So we have the second passage. This second passage talks about globalization. We have this passage about globalization. So here what we try to say, what the author is trying to say is that globalization has affected our economy, but globalization indeed has brought changes into our setup. So what is offered is the free trade and investment flow that is being focused. Then it says that public enterprises need to be privatized. This can happen through disinvestment and sales. Then there is aim to expand the social services like education and health. Then opening up to private sector for the public sector is important. The wages and employment are governed by free play of market forces. This acts as a measure to regulate the discouragement of investment, that is important. And so the overall philosophy here is reduction in the role of a state. Okay, so just by focusing these points, we can directly answer the question which are asked here. So the first question is, according to the passage under globalization, government intervention is viewed as. So here it is mentioned directly in the passage. You can say it creates distortion and brings inefficiency. So the answer direct here is distortion and inefficiency in the economy. The next question here talks about the basic philosophy of globalization is. It's again mentioned directly, very directly in the passages. Determine price, production, and distribution. So it's absolute freedom to markets. So in the choices, the only option absolute freedom to markets is C, which says absolute freedom to markets to determine price, production, and employment, which is again directly from the passage. Now the next question is, which of the following is necessary to ensure globalization? Here we can understand it mentions privatization of public enterprise here. So this is correct. Free play of market forces for wage and employment. Free play of market forces. So this is again correct. And fourth, that is privatization of social services. That is education and health. This is correct. So answer is 1, 3 and 4. And the last question here based on this passage is, in the process of globalization, the state should have a. It's clearly mentioned that the overall philosophy is to philosophy of reduction in the role of the state. So the state should have a reducing role. That is the correct answer here. This graph, and it's a question on data interpretation. So you have a graph here, and here are the set of questions that are asked. So we'll try to answer all these questions together. So you have the set of questions here. Let's try to understand. Okay. So these are the four questions based on this graph. We'll take these questions one by one. So in which year the average profit of A and B is same? So this is the point where average profit for both the firms is same. So this is the profit. So where the vertical points are meeting for A and B is the dotted line is same as 1996. What is the difference between the average profit of B and A in 1998? So 1998, B has a profit of 4,000. So this is in thousand, so it's 4,000, and A has a profit of 3,000. So the difference in the profit is minus 1,000 rupees. That's the correct answer. How much more average profit did A make in year 2000 than in 1999? So A's profit in 2000 is 4,000, and then in the year 1999 it's 4,000, and in 2000 it's 6,000. So the difference is 2,000. So the A's profit between the 2 years was 2,000. See, the next question is, what is the trend of average profit of B from 1997 to 2000? So 1997 starts here. So let's understand B's profit here. So B's profit is this, and this. Now we can say it is non-decreasing because in either case it's either constant or increasing. So it is not at all decreasing in any case. So the answer correct here is non-decreasing. So the average trend of profit is either steady or increasing. So that means it's not decreasing. It's either remaining constant or increasing. So these were the 4 questions on data interpretation. These were very direct questions. Now this is one of the very interesting questions that was asked. So here is a table that is given. Now the question here is, what is the difference in the mean aggregate marks? So you have to find out the difference in the mean aggregate marks. So how can you do that? For that, what you will have to do, you will have to sum up the total marks. Supposedly I try to sum up. So 60 plus 70 is 130, then plus 80 is 210. So it's here is 350. So student A gets 210 out of 350. So the percentage scored would be 60%. So that's the average for A. Student B gets 80 plus 70, 150, 150 plus 75, that's 225 out of 200, 300, 375. So B gets 225 out of 375 into 100. So that's again 60%. So the difference in the mean aggregate percentage of A and B is 0. So 0 is the correct answer in this case. Now here most of the students, what they did was they tried to solve this correctly, and then maximum marks they considered for both as 350. They just forgot to read this section. So it's important the maximum marks are different in both the cases, and that's where the essence of this question lies. So you have to be very attentive and very careful while reading the question. So what we are doing is we are totaling up the marks here. We are dividing it by the maximum marks and finding out the percentage, and then we are seeing the differences between the two. So 60 minus 60 is 0. So the difference between the mean aggregate marks is 0. Now, the next question is based on visual interpretation. So here is a diagram that's given, and the question is asked, which of the following figures embeds exactly the same diagram? So in this, you are going this way, then down, and this. So let me go this way, down, and this. And then I'm going this. So I'm going there, here. And I'm going up. So I'm going up. So as you can see, figure C directly reveals the exact replica of what is asked in the question. So C is the correct answer here. Now the next question is again based on visual interpretation. So here is the question and here are the choices. What is basically asked in this question is, what you have to do is, you have to see how the pattern is changing. So let's understand, just leave this section. I won't ask you to touch this. What is happening here is, there are two vertical lines. The first line remains vertical, but what happens to the second line? It becomes inverse. So in the next case again, there is one vertical line here and the arrow is here. What becomes here is vertical remains vertical and this becomes reverse. So it's pointing on the other side. So this was pointing towards the right, this is pointing towards the left. Now again, the question says this and this. So what would happen? This would remain the same. The other one would reverse out. So it would be this. So this is the correct answer. So in this case, B is the correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. The next question, you have this. You have various years given, and then you have population and income. And the question is, which of the following statements are correct from among these? Now here, what's important to find out is, you have this data. Now if I want to find out the per capita income, how can I do that? Per capita income is the total income divided by the total population. So let's do it for first case. For 1992, it would be 1010 divided by 20. Now this is in crores, this is in lakhs, so it would be into 100. So since 1 crore is equal to 100 lakhs, so 1 crore is 10 raised to power 7, 1 lakh is 10 raised to power 5. So the difference would be 10 raised to power 2, so it's into 100. In 1993, it would be 1111 divided by 21. 94, it would be 1225 divided by 22. And in 1995, it would be 1345 divided by 23 into 100. In all these cases, if we multiply and solve these, it would be 555. So the answer would, in all these cases, the per capita income would be always above 5,000. So this is the correct answer in this case. You can solve and get the exact values to see what we are doing. The next question. This is one of the most interesting questions, and most of the students who are badly struck up in this question get highly confused what to do. So in this question, you are given this matrix and it is clearly mentioned that there is relationship among rows. So it's very important to read the question properly. So when there is relationship among rows, that means there is this kind of relationship, horizontal and not vertical. So there is no vertical relationship, it's just horizontal. So what I suggest is just add the first row. It's 29 plus 13 plus 18. So you get a total of 60. Again, at the last row is 30 plus 27 plus 3. You get a total of 60. So here is 33 plus x plus 19. You must get a total of 60 because 1 and 2 are satisfying. So this should also satisfy. So x is equal to 60 minus 33 plus 19 is 52. So x is 8. So the correct answer here should be 8. Now the next question here is, you have a matrix given here and you have to find out which of the following is correct from among these. Very interesting question and very simple question. So let's understand it from the first diagram. So you have 4 circles. So circles are 4, then 3 and then 2. Triangles are increasing. So from 2, 3 to 4. Now let's understand the second row. Second row you have 3 circles, then 2 circles and 1 circles, and triangles become 1, 2 and 3. Now let's understand the final row. You have 2 circles, 1 circle, and the last there should be 0 circles. Triangle there are 0, then there are 1 and there should be 2. So there should be a case where there is no circle but 2 triangles. So A is the correct answer. So here there are 2 circles, 1 circle and no circle. Then no triangle, 1 triangle and 2 triangle. So this is the correct option. Now, the question number 19 is a very classic question and a very confusing question. Now, let's try to understand here. In the question, it's clearly given that the person is trying to move from S to T, okay? And he is going to U and B, but he is not retracing. What does that mean? That means that if I am going this way in one diagram, the next diagram I cannot say I am okay coming from here again going the same way. So that is what is retracing. That is not allowed. So just make sure. Now the question asks, how many total number of routes can you make to reach from S to T? So I'll start drawing these routes. So you have S and you have T. So what I'm doing is, one route is this, this and this. Okay. The other route is inverse, this, this and this. The next route is I can go this way, I can go this way, and then I can go from the downwards. I can take this loop. So I'm going down. I can do inverse of it, so I can go up and then 2 down. Okay. The next can be I can go down and 2 up, and I can go 2 down and 1 up. These are the possible combinations. Then the next is I can go this way, down and up. So I can go this, down and up. Then I can go this, up and down. So these are the simple combinations. I haven't included the horizontal lines. Now I will try to include the horizontal lines. So I can go this way and this way. So one is this, then down and then this. Similarly, I can go up with this. So with every you have 2 combinations. I am going down, I am going up. The next I will be going straight, then down and then up. So the next would be straight, then up and then down. Next would be straight, 2 up, straight, 2 down. Then, so this is from S to U, is the straight. Now I am taking this as a triangular curve, and from V to T I would be taking as a straight. So the next combination would be up, up, straight, down, down, straight. Then you have up, down, straight, and you have down, up and straight. So let me count the number of combinations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18. So in this figure, if I am trying to reach from S to T, there are a total number of 18 combinations that I can make and reach from point A to point B. Hope this is clear. And now we will be moving to the final question for today's session. The final question here is again based on visual diagram. So here is the diagram and here is the question. So what's happening here is, I have an image here and this side is colored and I am reversing it. So this side becomes colored. Okay. And similarly is for all the 4 cases. So this side is colored, so reverse becomes colored. And from this, I'm moving to this and then I'm moving down. And then I'm moving up. So I'm moving up, I'm again moving onto, basically I'm flipped off and then I turn 90 degree. So I would be again turning 90 degree. Okay. So from this position, I turned 90 degree down. So from this position, I turned 90 degree this side. So I would be turning 90 degree. So again, it would be to the original position. Back to the original position would be the answer. So this is the correct answer in this case. It's just you try to rotate and flip and then you'll be able to understand the exact scenario what is happening. So with this we solve the first 20 questions of the IAS Prelims paper for 2014 CSAT paper 2. We will be doing remaining questions in the 3 coming sets. Hope you find these explanations useful. Stay tuned for the further sessions. Have a good day ahead.